Henry Washington. I'm glad you come to our event once a year at least.
Yeah, it's
We,
fun.
we don't cross paths very often. But I'm excited, man. I think I've been trying to get you on the podcast, like even separately. I know we're not in person, so I'm like, let me take this opportunity to at least get it in person because we haven't talked in like forever,
Yeah,
and
been like a year.
it's been like a year. So one thing you did in your presentation is you're talking about how the market's shifting a little bit and you've kind of adapted. Um, we've pivoted. I mean, we're still doing the same thing in our business, but it's kind of there's a little variation. What have you noticed on your side that's changed a lot in the last like 12 months? Because I think there's been a lot that changed.
Yeah, I mean, financially, things have changed, but the fundamentals are still the same.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what your risk tolerance is and what your exit strategy is. And so, since we are traditionally going to do buy and holds and fix and flips, the market is either better for one than the other. And
Yeah.
so, this year, we've done a lot of fix and flips because prices have remained fairly high.
Yeah.
And so I can flip a property and make a profit easier than I can buy a property and get
Cash flow.
cash flow. Um,
Yeah.
and so we've just been doing that, capitalizing on the flips when the opportunity is there, still keeping them if they're in great neighborhoods and they're great long-term holds. It's just I'm not expecting to make money in year one right now on a buy and hold. And so we've bought several properties this year. We've probably bought 30 doors this year.
Really?
But the majority of them aren't making a ton of cash flow off the top. They're making a little bit. They're paying for themselves. They're making a little bit of cash flow. And then I'm able to do cost segregations because I'm typically buying properties that are already active. So I'm not
Okay.
having to go and do a complete gut job rehab before I can rent it.
That saves a lot.
So I can get the tax benefits. and so I guess the point is I'm buying properties that make money as they sit, or at least pay for themselves. And then as I get tenant turnover, I can do a light renovation and get rents closer to market. So cash flow comes a little later.
So are you coming from like tired landlords, most of those opportunities?
Most of them this year, yeah, they have been. They've been either tired landlords or landlords that were looking to, monopoly up. So I'm buying their small houses that they're selling to go and buy their hotels.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I know you use a lot of like bank financing. Did that tighten up your restrictions or
No.
did it change the rates a little bit and that was it?
Yeah, the rates have gone up, but when you think about small local banks, like they have to lend to local businesses and they typically have a sweet spot that they like. So you got local community banks who only like doing large scale multifamily deals. Like that's their bread and butter. That's where they like to lend. On the same hand, you've got commercial lenders who like to lend on small single family and small multifamily because it's a safer asset. And on the other hand, you have some banks who were into larger multifamily and commercial who are now trying to balance their loan portfolio or hedge their risk by getting more into lending to single and small multis. And so the lending is still there. You just have to go have a conversation with the bank and understand what their comfort zone is and what they like. And if you're buying the thing that they like and you're buying it at a good discount, they're going to lend to you.
Did they actually increase volume because of the tightening up and they stopped lending to other people?
No, I mean they have to lend, right? If they don't lend, they go out of business. And so I think what they're doing is they're protecting their portfolio. So they're looking to get into lower risk investments typically, but they have to lend to stay in business.
No matter what the rates say, they gotta lend.
Yeah, they got to lend, or else what are they going to do?
So one thing you mentioned in your presentation, which I love, is that you started picking up houses with lots. When did that iteration come, and who's to thank? 'Cause I'm hoping it's me. I'm hoping I can take credit for this.
No. Unfortunately, it wasn't you. But
'Cause I've been preaching this for years.
yeah, no, I've done this a few times just by happenstance. And
Accident?
I was like, we buy a house, and they're like, well, we have here's a house, but we have the extra lot, and it come with it. And so I've done land deals, and every land deal I've done has been because I got free land, right? And so
it's not even a bad way to get land.
no, it's great. It's great. And so I just was like, well, what if we like strategically market for that so that you're more intentional about finding them?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've probably done in the past 2 years, maybe 10 or so deals that came with extra land.
It's so funny because like literally I teach my students how to find those.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know the value of the land, not really more than the house because I'm not a house guy, but if I can get the land and I know what the value of the land is, if I can, I know that house is worth at least X,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
So I've been targeting stuff, and even with us, with Texas, you get 10 acres or more. So I'm looking for houses with 10 acres or more because I can just cut it off.
Yeah.
20 acres. If it's 20 acres with a house, boom, cut it in half. You have a house 10 acres, then you have 10 acres by itself.
Yeah.
And it's the same play, but it might be all together packaged,
Yeah.
at least for us. But we can still cut that 10 acres off and still monetize it.
Yeah.
So it's very similar, but man, and this is one of the things I think if you do enough deals and you're like, hey, I'll take the extra thing, it's part of negotiation,
Yeah.
and then you get it and you're like, okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense. Um, I think one of the things I love about I think all the speakers from yesterday they were all talking about like the the allies that people they work with in their market
Mm-hmm.
that you teach because everybody wants to experience, and you're teaching people in your local market to find deals
Yep.
in your local market because it comes back to you
Yeah. I mean,
essentially. Not every deal, but every once in a while you can pick one off here and there, and
oh well,
that's what.
everybody's buy box is a little different, and so yeah, I may compete with some of my students for deals, but for the most part, we don't. Like everybody kind of markets to their own specific lists,
Yeah,
and then like buy boxes are different. So like I had a deal a couple weeks ago that I ended up essentially wholesaling to one of my students,
nice. There you
right?
go.
Because I was closing on several deals at the same time. This one had the biggest renovation of all of them, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to be able to make some money on this and not have to do that renovation.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
so I
talking about.
passed it to one of my students who has great connections with contractors. So she's able to get a good deal to get that work done. She'll make money. I made a little
Yeah,
bit of money.
it's a win-win.
It's a win, right? So it's not. It's less about. It's less about competition. It's more about collaboration because if we're all working together in the same community, then we're going to be able to pass deals back and forth. That makes sense for us.
Absolutely. I think it's such a great business model, and I think it's the collaboration effort, and I think this is one of the big things I think we can kind of lead into is like building a social media brand.
Yeah.
Chris hit it yesterday, like right on the nose. Like everybody needs to build a social media brand. I love it
Yeah.
because I know the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But I recommend everybody go out there and start creating something.
Yeah. I think when you think about social media, so yes, there are benefits to your business if you have a social media brand, for sure.
Yeah,
I think if you truly want to have a legitimate brand on social media, you have to not just exist and put content out there because you want a brand to exist, but you truly have to want to help people. The
mm.
more you want to help people with your content, the less you'll be concerned with how to grow your social media brand because it won't be about, oh, I need to do something that's going to get me so
There's
many
no
followers.
metric.
Right. All you're doing is like, oh, I need to do this because someone needs to hear this.
Yeah,
Right. And so,
that's it.
and it can be overwhelming too if you're new to investing and then thinking, well, I don't want to start a social media brand because I don't want to teach somebody something I barely know.
Yeah,
It's not about teaching, right? A brand on social media, I tell people, if you're brand new to the thing that you're doing, you don't start a brand on social media to teach. You start a brand on social media to share your journey because
share your
there's
journey.
other
Yep,
new people as well
yep.
who are considering doing it and they would love to watch somebody else brand new start down that same path.
Even
And
if you're a
so
month in advance
you're
or a week in
you're
advance,
not
and
teaching, you're just sharing your journey. Like that's what I'm doing with the residential assisted living.
okay,
So like I teach people on my page how to do single family and small multifamily real estate because I have the experience and the lessons to be able to teach. But on my page, I'm also doing a vlog on
mm.
my journey to
Ah,
opening my first residential assisted living
there you go.
facility. And so in that vlog, I'm not teaching. I
It's
don't
going back.
know residential
It's
assisted
going back to
living.
the basics.
Yeah.
It's going back to the
I'm not
basics.
teaching. I am just showing the journey that I'm on. So like the very first week, the very first video that I put out there was me literally going to a 3-day training to learn about it because I didn't know anything about it. The next week was me um, the next week was me meeting with the city, my local city, and talking to them about how to do this locally. And like the
Ah.
next video is me walking
Did you already
properties and
release
looking
this?
at them. Yeah, there's
Okay.
every week I'm putting a video because I'm moving towards my goal every week,
And it's
and I'm
small
just
goals.
yeah small goals. So I'm literally just capturing it as I go and sharing the journey. I don't know if the steps I'm taking are right or wrong, but
We'll
at least
find
I'm
out.
putting it out there for people so that they can learn. Right. So it's not in in that capacity with assisted living on my social media. I am not teaching. I am sharing my journey.
One thing I'll tell you about anything is everything in real estate is very well documented,
Hmm.
and you just got to talk to your local municipality.
Yeah.
That's the trick. I
It's
think
not new.
it's not new, and
It's not
this is
new.
the crazy thing. Anything you want to do in real estate, let's say you want to build the first
Yeah.
niche studio with 12 units on a half an acre.
Yeah, somebody did it already.
Somebody did it already.
Yeah,
And if they haven't done it, you can go to the county
yeah,
and ask how to do it.
yeah.
And they will tell you how to do it.
Somebody did it already, or somebody did something similar already. There's a path to follow.
There's a path to follow. So then the county will give you ABC instructions. You
Mhm.
need ABC, you need a fire marshal, you need a sprinkler system, you need fire doors,
Yeah,
you need a firewall, ABC, and they'll tell you everything you need. And then you do that, and that's it.
you just do it. Well, you need some money, but
Well, you
yeah,
need some money, of
yeah, and
course,
then
but
you go do it. Yeah,
but then the steps to do it are laid out there.
yeah,
No matter what you
absolutely.
want to do, they're all laid out there. And there's a path to that resolution. So now it's just capitalizing.
And that's another benefit to sharing your journey too on social media when you're new, because you're not going to know some things. So if you make a video saying, "Hey, this week we
Somebody will
did this
comment
and
and
we
tell
did
you the
that,"
right way to do it.
yeah, and I struggle with this, and somebody be like, "Oh, go talk to this person, go talk to that person," right? Like you'll absolutely get help. So there's value in it for sure. It's just you got to want to help people. The more you want to help people, the more organic your content is, and the more organic your content is, the more people will actually be attracted to you, because you can tell when somebody's doing something to get views or where they're doing something because they generally care about you or care about it.
or they're generally doing something because that's just the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of like Corey. Corey is just that dude. He's
Mm-hmm.
doing crazy stuff, and that's just life he lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even faking because you can see the realism in it.
He's
It's just
yeah, he's a character.
he's a
That's for sure.
character.
Yeah.
He's a character. He's a main character in his own story.
That, as we all should be, right? Like, do you?
You shouldn't be afraid of who you are
Yeah.
and your mannerisms and what people think of you. And I think as we do stuff like this, you get thick skin because
Mm-hmm.
people will mock and make fun of you,
Oh yeah.
and it's gonna happen. I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
I need more haters.
That's right.
Haters is what I'm doing. I know I'm doing something right. You know,
If people care that much about what you're doing, then you're doing something that
you're doing
people want
something
to
right.
see.
It's motivating. You know,
Yeah.
it's motivating the more haters you get. But what when to give people like refresher, like when did you actually start, like you made a point to like start creating in general? And
Right after I bought, well, yeah, right after I bought my first property.
really, it's been that long?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't plan on it being what it is. Like, I bought my first property
No one
and
does.
it was so life changing
Yeah.
that I just like so had a panic attack because I wasn't making enough money in life.
Uh-huh.
90 days later, bought my first house and then took out a HELOC and had access to 25 grand. So I had a house that was paying for itself. I didn't pay any money for the house. It was paying for itself, paying me, and then I got a HELOC and had access to 20 something thousand dollars. Like, that's crazy in 90-day span. And so I was like, there's got to be more people who are in a tough financial situation who have no idea that they can do this. And
I,
so I just was like, I felt like God wanted me to share it with people. And so I didn't know what to do. I just started posting pictures of what I was doing. That was it.
how long ago was that?
2017.
2017. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally scroll back on my page and go all the way back and see like the first post I put up. It was just like before and after pictures of houses we were looking at.
So overnight success.
Yeah, exactly.
2017.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
No, I think everybody wants results now, and they're afraid of the time it takes to get to where you want to be.
Yep.
And I think if you make a decision just to, you'll get there when you get there.
Yeah.
It could be 4 years for Henry, and it could be 10 years for me, and that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's okay. You gotta be okay with dealing with it. I always tell people is that um, I think I do want a bigger audience, but I'm glad I'm going at the pace I'm going at because maybe I'm not mature enough or
Yeah.
emotionally mature to handle that thing. But I know it's coming. But I need to go
Yeah.
through these growing pains that I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's exciting, and I feel like everything's gonna come in time, and I'm okay with that.
That's for sure. Everybody's time is different. It's hard not to watch other people in the space and see
Yeah,
their success and feel like you should be a part of that or you should have something similar. But everybody gets what they get in
when
the
they're
time
supposed
frame
when
they're
they're supposed to get it. Yep,
That's a fact.
that's the main thing.
You
And
don't. The worst thing that can happen is that you get something that you think you want and you're not ready for it
ooh, because then
because you squander it.
you squander.
You mess it up. Yeah. I think about my wife. Like, if I would have met my wife any sooner than I met her,
Uh-huh.
I'd have screwed it all up. I
Dude,
wasn't ready.
I agree with this. Okay, I agree with this because I was immature.
Yeah.
I was immature. And my wife is younger than me, and she was more mature. But when I met her, I was like, I don't know. She has something that I need, and I did not want to squander this
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I was not ready for her prior to when I met her, and all of the things that I went through was God preparing me
for that.
for being able to have her and keep her and have the honor and privilege of being able to be responsible for her. Like, if I would have met her any sooner, I would have lost it, man.
You would have lost it. And
So
I think a lot of people, I think, I think a lot of people have regrets over that too.
yeah,
A lot of people have regrets over that. I don't have any regrets over that. I think it was perfect timing for me too.
and if you think about it, like if you're somebody who feels like you missed or lost an opportunity, well, maybe you did, but also maybe you were supposed to.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the
That
times when I'm
lesson.
going through a tough situation, it's easy to get like emotional about it and in your feelings about it and get the
Yeah.
woe is me's and why is this happening to me and I deserve more than
Depression
this.
and
Yeah.
all that, all the things
And
going on.
when I feel that stuff, because I'm human, so when I
Mm-hmm.
feel that stuff start to come on, sometimes I have to like ground myself and say, all right, what is it that I'm supposed to learn
From the
from this
situation.
situation?
Yep.
Because a lot of the times we go through these storms because we're being prepared for something else.
Yep.
So the sooner you can learn that lesson, the sooner you can get on to the thing that's really meant for you. And so if you're in that boat, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in your career or whatever it is that you're struggling with, like stop worrying about what you're dealing with and start asking yourself and praying about like what's the thing I'm supposed to learn
Yeah.
and open your eyes, because what that does is it's a mindset trick.
Yeah.
It's what that does is it takes your brain out of a state of it's really not helping you. Your brain's not helping you solve any problem when you're
Yeah.
in the woe is me's,
Yep.
right? But when you stop and you tell your
You
brain
get perspective.
to pay attention to what's happening and help me find what I'm supposed to learn, you just turned your brain on to help you start to look for things. And then now you'll start to see and hear things differently and you'll find the lesson and then you can move on. Like, I talk about this in my talks all the time. That's how I started to invest. I didn't know how to invest, but I just told my brain that I was going to be successful, even though I had no idea how to do it. I had bad credit, I had no money. But once you turn your brain onto it, you start to hear things. You'll overhear a conversation or you hear something on the podcast and go, "Oh snap, that's it. That's what I need to be focused on." Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the I don't know what they call it, but
Per-
it's the red truck theory.
perception.
Right.
Perception and
Every time you buy a new vehicle, you didn't know that you never saw more of those vehicles until the day you drove it off the lot, and now everybody and their mom has one, right? And there's no more of those than there were the day before you bought it. Your brain's just now turned on to the idea that they're existing, and it picks up on them. So do that to your brain for learning lessons, and you'll.
how do you get in an environment to be open and perceptive to receive new information, in your opinion?
Um, the same thing. Like
Is it is it your family, friends? Is it you
if you wanna
what you
if you
consume?
wanna learn something new, right, then you need to set yourself up to be able to learn something new, right? So if it were me and I was doing this all over again, first things first is make a decision that you're going to learn that thing, right? And write it down 3 times every morning. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you write down is like, so let's say you're going to do real estate, just say, I will be a successful real estate investor. I will buy one rental property in the next X amount of days. If you wrote that down 3 times every morning, all you're doing is telling your brain what's going to happen and to help you look for the things that are going to help you get there. That's step one. The second thing I would do is to remove everything that wasn't associated with that goal from like my social
Ooh,
media feed.
there you
So
go. You
what I
reset it.
did was I started a social media page,
Ooh, I like that.
and then I only followed people in the financial or real estate space so that I didn't have anything else on my feed. So when I would want to scroll, I'm not seeing nonsense anymore. I'm
This
only seeing,
this is an underrated
yeah,
point. I love TikTok
yeah,
because I might like TikTok's all trash.
yeah.
Like no, your
Dude, I've
algorithms
learned the craziest cool stuff
your
on TikTok,
algorithm is
man.
trash.
Yeah,
And that's what it is. You need to reset your programming
yeah,
because I love TikTok because I learned so
yeah,
much amazing stuff from great creators on
yeah.
TikTok. And it's just boom, boom, boom. I get new ideas, I get
So, so,
inspiration.
so start a new page or take your current page and unfollow everybody and only follow people in that niche who are teaching something valid, so that when you're wasting time scrolling, you're still learning. Like, and you're subconsciously training your brain to
Yep.
still look for that thing that's going to
Yep.
help you. And
That's such an underrated one.
and
That's a good one.
the third thing I would do is not to be so, because what we want to do is we say, I want to learn something new. And the way to learn something new is to go figure out what all the steps are I need to do. And then we overwhelm ourselves with all this information and trying to figure out how to piece it together.
Yep.
That's hard. What's easier is just to say, you tell yourself, I'm going to do X. Here's when I'm going to do it. Create. So what you're essentially doing when you do the thing we talked about on social media is you are surrounding yourself with successful people, but you're doing it virtually.
Virtually, yep.
So now do the same thing in person. right? Think about the people you spend the most time around and be super intentional about finding people who are good at the thing that you do. So the thing I did was I just went to every meetup, real estate meetup I could find. I went to every meetup, like religiously, consistently. I didn't know how to do anything, but I figured if I'm around people who are doing it, I'll start to understand what's possible. Because my brain is telling me,
Mm.
my common sense and my logic is telling me this is impossible. I have bad credit. I don't have any money. Why would buying houses be the solve for me having bad credit and no money? That sounds stupid, right? But it's absolutely what needed to happen. And if I would have followed my logic and common sense, which tells me that's dumb, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So instead, get the logic and common sense. Like, don't worry about that. Go surround yourself with people who are doing it. And then the thing that you think is illogical or impossible seems a whole lot more possible when everybody you associate yourself with on a daily basis is
Is
already
doing it.
doing it.
Yep.
I talked to an investor. We interviewed him on a podcast one time. His very first deal was like a 200 unit apartment complex. Very first deal, never done a real
What?
estate deal before. And so we were like, well, what made you buy a 200 unit apartment building? Most new investors, they buy a single and then they buy a
That's
duplex
insane.
and then they buy a small multifamily and then they move on to a big multifamily. Like they work their way up. Why did you start there? And he was like, all my friends buy apartment buildings. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that. Right? He says, I had no clue I wasn't supposed to just buy an apartment. But everybody around me was buying apartment buildings. So that's what I did. So he didn't have the mental block that we all have that
Yeah.
tells us you can't start with step D. You have to start with A, B, C, and then get to D. He didn't have that. His step D was his step A in his brain.
I think I think, man, your environment controls where step A and D are.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in a very poor, not very poor, my dad made good money, but we didn't have everything that other kids had growing up.
Mm-hmm. I tell people I didn't have everything I wanted, but I had everything I needed.
I had,
Yeah.
right there, that's it. That's it. I have everything I needed. And a lot of
And
people,
most of what I wanted. I had a pretty good life.
I did too. I did
Yeah.
too. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of people might handicap themselves because like I never owned a Game Boy my whole life,
Yeah.
and everybody I knew had a Game Boy. When I was a teenager, everybody had cell phones.
Yeah.
And cell phones were coming out, and mom's like, just use the kid next to you that has a cell phone. Like to them it made sense, and I'm like, I don't have a cell phone. You
Yeah.
gotta pay your own bill. I'm like,
Right.
oh man, I don't have a job. I'm 15. You
Right.
know?
Right. You weren't doing land deals at 15?
No,
Yeah,
no, I missed that opportunity.
you
I,
loser.
I regret
You
not
loser.
buying land in 2010. It's been hard, rough journey.
Right.
But I think a lot of people they handicap themselves based off of their environment,
Mhm.
and it's literally a mindset problem that they have to mind hack their brain to start at a different level, and you
Mhm.
can skip all the steps.
You can literally do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
If you want to buy multifamily as your first deal, you can absolutely do it. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. There is a way to do it. That's the coolest part about real estate. Is you can do whatever you want. Everything you've heard about real estate and people making money, it's true. It all works. You just have to figure out what's the path to get you in your current environment to that first deal. I mean, but there's a way to do it. It may not be easy. I'm not saying it's easy to do any of it. Yes, it is easier to buy a single family when you start out than buying a 200 unit apartment building. But that doesn't mean you can't just do the 200 unit apartment building. You can get there.
I heard a story a couple years ago when I first started that a couple they were doing houses that no luck at all, and they ended up doing multifamily. They ended up negotiating a seller finance deal with like a 50 to 80 unit apartment
Mhm.
complex with no experience,
Mhm.
100% seller finance, no money out of pocket.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
yeah. You
And you
find
walk into cash flow like that?
you find the right seller in the right situation and build the right relationship. That's absolutely possible.
And after I heard that, I'm like, okay, I can do any. I can. You can do anything
You
you
can do
want.
whatever you want,
You
man.
can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. It ain't gonna be easy.
It
You
ain't
can
gonna
do
be
whatever
easy.
you want.
Ain't gonna be easy.
It's not supposed to be easy.
I think the hard part is what makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the journey. I think that's what a lot of people talked about yesterday is like you gotta enjoy the journey because we get so goal focused
Yeah.
that you hit a goal and then you realize that once you hit the goal, you just subconsciously picked a new goal to hit, and now you're on a new journey, and you didn't even realize that you struggled through this last one and take the time to enjoy it. And so what I've realized in my old age is that like it's the journey is the fun part. Like the goal, it's cool, but once you hit a goal, you literally go, "Hey, I did it."
What's the next one?
and then you move on. Like the goal is not the cool part. Like you can enjoy the journey for months at a time, and then once you hit a goal, you celebrate for 30 minutes, an hour, a day, 2 days, and then you're on to the next goal. Like enjoy that journey.
One thing that we've been fourth annual event just completed, and I always joke around like I told Anthony we're gonna do this every year, whether it was just me and him show up or
Yeah,
like I don't care who shows up.
yeah,
I'm still gonna run the play. I think it's the consistency and
yeah.
it's been fun doing it. It really has. We've kind of adapted from like a 2 day, 2 half days. Now we did 1 day,
Mm.
and we kind of did it in different parts of the states. We're planning to do an overseas one and see who shows up. I don't know.
All right, come on,
It's gonna be in Puerto Rico or
come on.
Dominican Republic or
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. We'll find a place, but we're gonna do one overseas and see who shows up.
sounds good to me.
but
Sounds good to me.
but it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited about it. I don't
Yeah,
think it's gonna be next year, maybe in 2 or 3 years,
yeah,
because I think we're gonna bring our whole team, and it's gonna be a business 6 months. But
yeah,
I think it'll be a fun experience and see who shows up.
yeah. I mean, I think that that's what makes events good too. Is like you're less focused on trying to fill seats and more focused on trying to add value to people. You want to do it, you want to add value, you don't care who shows up. Well, that's how you do a valuable event. If you're so focused on who shows up and the content that you produce isn't good or organic, then people you may get butts and seats because you're a good marketer. But if they get there and what they're learning is trash,
Yeah,
you won't have another event.
or you'll lose the energy to do another
Yeah,
one
yeah, yes, absolutely.
because you did it for the wrong
And
reasons.
events are hard. I don't
They're
think people
hard.
realize how hard events are.
They are hard. I think I've gotten better the more I do it.
Yeah, events are tough, man.
I definitely got better the more I do it, but it's been a fun experience, and I literally remember this because I remember like let's do an event, and I'm like I don't know how to do an event. We'll figure it out. I'm like all right, let's figure it out. And I remember that first event, like it was like painfully fun
Yeah.
to do my first event.
Oh, dude. I've done one event. And I remember the second it was over, I just had this big emotional release because it's so intense all the way up and through it, making sure everything goes right and people are where they're supposed to be and people are getting what they need and yada, yada, yada. And then the second it was over, I just remember feeling like, when I was like, I don't know that I want to do that again. That was a lot.
Apparently, I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, man. More power to you. So that's what I told my wife. I was like, I'll just do other people's events. I don't know that I want to do my own.
Oh man, is there something you did in your event that you would do better if you did a second event?
Uh,
The number one thing you
yeah,
think of?
yeah, for sure. Well, I say that I'm going to do an event this year because I started a higher ticket mastermind,
Uh
and I told my students I would do one for them. So we're going to do one, and
We're
and
recording. Bye, Judge State.
bye.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
coming.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we learned a lot in terms of like how to market it, how to price it. Like we didn't know anything. We were just throwing stuff together.
How much money did you lose?
Maybe about 5 grand.
I think we lost 20 our first event.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you, people say that you do. You typically are gonna if like a break even event is a solid event
It's a solid event if you break it.
because you monetize your events well after the event.
Yeah.
It's not about the money you make day
Day
one.
one, day two. Like
Yeah,
it's not about that.
it's the names, email addresses you capture and continue to market to. You'll make your money from your event in the long term, but in the short term, they cost money.
Um, I don't know if you heard, but from last year's event, one of our speakers that spoke with the last year event, he brought us $2.5 million of deals
Yeah, amazing.
from one of the speakers.
That's dope. That is dope.
We had $1 million a week because of that guy
That's amazing.
from the event. I think we lost money last year's event, but we make it up in the long run, like you said.
You lost money last year's event. You had a free venue last year.
I know, but I don't even think we charged for tickets.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, that'll do it.
we had to pay for food.
That'll do it. Yep.
We had to pay for food,
Yeah.
and then we paid for flights for some speakers.
Yeah.
There's hidden costs that you don't think of.
There's a lot of.
We had rental chairs.
Yeah.
We had to rent a projector.
Yeah.
I think we bought like new marketing materials. The banner that we used again.
Banners are expensive, man.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
But with that, we got year 2 out of it now.
Yeah. Right. One-time cost.
That's a one-time cost, but I think we bought that last year. There's just a lot of like hidden costs.
Yeah.
Hidden costs. I think we had I don't know. Events are fun. It could be very disheartening. Like it's like you ever have a birthday party as a kid and no one shows up,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so I have a similar situation. I remember this is me getting vulnerable. I was a teenager and I told my mom I wanted a birthday party, and she's like, okay, we'll set it up and you invite all your friends, whatever. I invited all my friends and no one showed up.
Oh
I was
man,
like 14, 15 years old.
that's a bummer.
I don't know if it was the date I chose. I made it market it right. I have no idea. And my mom made a bunch of food and
Oh,
it was just
bummer.
terrible. So I had like whiplash from that.
Oh
I'm
man.
gonna do it on a bigger scale and see who shows up.
Well, you've had people in a full room every time I've seen it, so
Um, but like I think about that. Like you have to like overcome those, and I'm sure not everybody has those stories, but
mm.
some people do, and I hope that inspired you. My pain is your pain. You know, we're all in this together.
Everybody's got trauma, man.
We all got trauma.
Everybody's got trauma.
What time is it? I don't know how much time we got left. My
Uh,
phone's over there.
it is 11:55.
Oh, we gotta go.
All right.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Great
I,
talking.
I meant to tell you to look at the clock earlier because we gotta go. We gotta go to lunch.
All right.
We'll see you next episode. Thanks, guys. Hey, if you have any deals you'd like to submit to the Hive Mind and our team, go to hivebc.io. That's actually the Hive Buyers Club. Submit your deals and we can hopefully dispel your deal for you. Have a great day.